Why would a law that impacts just 0.04% of the population create so much angst across the country? The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Amendment Bill, which completely changes the essential definition of who is a transgender person in India, was passed by Lok Sabha this week. So a law that defines a person's identity was discussed for how long? Just about 2 hours in the House. And if you're wondering what is so upsetting that from activists from Delhi to Chennai to all other cities, that they're all crying foul, let me tell you in this short video. First of all, this new amendment seems to turn back the promises made in Supreme Court's landmark 2014 NALSA judgment, which upheld the rights and dignity of everyone in the trans community. It was like the Indian justice system had finally acknowledged those who don't identify as male or female, and the courts had put a seal on the fact that the law stands with their right to live and work with dignity and have all the rights that everyone else has. This was a huge validation for a community that has trouble finding work and faces all kinds of discrimination in society. So, after the courts upheld their rights, the government then brings in a law that enables them. So in 2019, we have the first transgender bill that gives them all these rights. And the definition of who is a trans person is key in that. So let me just tell you, because a lot of us might not know that definition. The first bill, that's a 2019 bill, said, the 2019 law said that a trans person is a person whose gender does not match with the gender assigned at birth and includes a trans man or trans woman, a person with intersex variations, gender queer, and persons having socio-cultural identities as Kinnar or Hijra, among others. So it was very inclusive and a whole spectrum of those who could be covered. Compare that to the 2026 amendment, which is much less inclusive and says it will not include those with different sexual orientations and self-perceived sexual identities. So, the new law now says that trans people are only those who come from Hijra, Kinnar or identified communities, or the intersex who have variations at birth in external genitalia, chromosomes or hormones from the normative standard of a male or a female body. So you will understand this better if I just tell you who all are left out. All other trans men or trans women who may have gone through gender reassignment surgery are now left out. This new law is simply telling them that they are no longer seen in the eyes of law, no longer transgenders. The second problematic aspect of the new law is that now if I identify as trans, it's not good enough. I have to apply to the district magistrate to issue a certificate. And how does the DM do that? They'll go by the recommendation of the medical board headed by a chief medical officer or a deputy chief medical officer along with any other medical experts. Now think about it. How intrusive is this? There is such a spectrum of identity that including bureaucrats to determine this just seems adding red tape and can lead to major harassment for marginalized people. And the law also makes it mandatory for any medical institution which carries out the surgery to inform the local DM, which activists point out is a complete invasion of privacy. I turn back to what our Supreme Court said. The top court had said that self-determination of gender is an integral part of personal autonomy and self-expression and falls within the realm of personal liberty guaranteed to us under Article 21. So why did the government bring this in? We don't know. And finally, the bill adds new offences and penalties to the act like kidnapping, causing grievous hurt or severe injury in order to force a person to assume a transgender identity. Now, in our reporting and those by human rights groups like PUCL, it is known that transgenders are criminalized. They are forced to beg and face harassment in the hands of police and others, and when taken into custody, they are very vulnerable to sexual violence. By these new amendments, the new bill criminalizes anybody who may help a trans person transition. To explain this, take for instance a person who takes help from another in getting gender-changing surgery. They're doing this in solidarity, but if the family is against it, they can then initiate criminal proceedings, and potential punishment is 10 years for this, and just for someone who may have done this to help someone. My colleague Dhamini Ratnam, who has written extensively on this, says transition is a process, not a single event, and thus a support network is essential. The bill will have disproportionately chilling effect on such networks. The Union Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, Virender Kumar, said all the right things about standing up for trans rights, but he didn't address any one of these problems. Maybe it's because the community is so small. However, our constitution is one which is not just for the rights of great numbers of people, but for every individual rights. And for that, we all have to care about this new law too.